Nintendo, one of the biggest and most acclaimed video game developers of all time. They have released countless of iconic and successful video games over the decades. There are video games like the 1981 arcade video game Donkey Kong, the 1985 NES video game Super Mario Bros., and the 1998 Nintendo 64 video game Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time were especially breakthrough for their video game genres and time periods. Although, none of these were the start of Nintendo developing video games, interestingly enough, like most video gamers would think. So, what is Nintendo's first original video game they developed then? Well, this can be debatable to an extent. You could say it's Laser Clay Shooting System, Nintendo's first electromechanical arcade game in 1973 that was a light gun shooter arcade game. Although, this isn't an original fully digital video game, of course, if it is electromechanical in some of its components, so I don't count this. I also then don't count all of their other electromechanical arcade games like EVR Race, the 1975 electromechanical arcade game that was a horse racing / car racing betting arcade game. You could then also say it's Color TV Game 6, technically Nintendo's first home console in 1977, but not in the interchangeable media way that has been standard with Nintendo ever since the Famicom / NES, but instead in a built-in video games way, with this one exclusively just playing a clone of the 1972 video game Pong. Nintendo then released other Color TV games like this as well, and although they are fully digital video games, they are clones of other fully digital video games by other video game developers, or even fully digital adaptations of physical games by other people, and aren't original because of this, so I don't count these either. Nintendo also then released clone fully digital arcade video games and fully digital arcade adaptations of physical games, like the fully digital arcade adaptation of Othello, Computer Othello in 1978, and the Space Invaders clone fully digital arcade video game Space Fever in early 1979. You could also then count these, of course, but I don't count them for the reasons I mentioned. So, what is Nintendo's first original video game they developed then that I believe counts as a fully original and fully digital video game? Well, I would say their video game that best fits this description is their late 1979 original fully digital arcade video game Sheriff, also sometimes known as Bandito. The gameplay of Sheriff is simple. You play as a sheriff named Mr. Jack, or just the sheriff, in a Wild Western-like setting, and you need to take down the bandits walking all around you outside your area in order to save the woman the bandits captured named Betty. You do this through walking around and shooting them with the bullets in your ranged weapon through the fence posts and walls between both of you, while also dodging the bullets they are shooting at you through their ranged weapons through the fence posts and walls as well. You can actually destroy the fence posts with your bullets to make it easier to take them out as well, which can be nice. They also occasionally aggressively come in the fence posts and walls, where you need to take them out quickly before they take you out. There's also a pesky condor that flies through at the top of the screen occasionally that you can take out with your bullets for additional points, reminiscent of the UFO from Space Invaders in 1978. Once you successfully take out all the bandits, you see a cutscene of a bandit with Betty with her screaming for help, and then the video game loops to the same stage again. And if you clear enough stages, you'll eventually get a cutscene of Mr. Jack saving Betty in a romantic fashion, along with bonus points for your score. You then keep playing this same gameplay loop until you lose all your lives to the enemies shooting you. This was a very interesting video game to be Nintendo's first original digital video game for a few reasons. For one, the gameplay was very innovative for the time, probably being the first multi-directional shooter video game in this way of shooting enemies to take them out from all directions and angles, establishing this in a more advanced way than the arcade video game Gunfight in 1975 and the arcade video game Boot Hill in 1977. There is also a dynamic soundtrack of music always playing in the background for all the different events happening in the gameplay and cutscenes, probably being the first video game to do this, also establishing this in a more advanced way than the arcade video game Space Invaders in 1978. This is also probably the first video game to have a damsel in distress that needs to be saved, and even having cinematic cutscenes showing the dire situation and romantic cutscenes when the damsel in distress is saved, probably influencing Nintendo's approach in doing this later on in the arcade video game Donkey Kong in 1981. Overall, Sheriff was a very innovative and intriguing first original fully digital video game by Nintendo. It established a lot of video game aspects, like dynamic music and damsel in distresses that would later define Nintendo's iconic and successful video games and video games in general. Even though it was commercially successful in Japan to an extent, it was still largely forgotten over time and elsewhere. And even though Nintendo has referenced it occasionally over time, it is still a very unknown video game to most video gamers. Sheriff is definitely a noteworthy video game that needs to be honored and remembered a lot more in video game history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And if you want to see more when it's released, make sure to subscribe to be notified. And also check out the playlist if you want to see more already. Peace.